It's no secret that I love a good tip, trick, and hack. Listen in for a tasty one that will help when delegating and working with external teams. Welcome to Leverage Your Spark. I'm Brandy Lawson. When onboarding new clients and honestly even new team members, one of the biggest sticking points is getting access. Sometimes this is because no one knows where the access information is. This is especially common with hosting and websites. But sometimes it's also a problem with not being sure how to grant access, who has access, or even just gathering the information together and wondering how best to communicate it. Side note here, please never, and I mean never, send passwords via email. Isn't that crazy though? The hardest part of a project can be just getting people access to the information they need to do the project. What if this wasn't a sticking point? Wouldn't it be great to live in a world where granting and controlling access was easy? I don't know about your experiences, but in my experience, despite best efforts, sometimes relationships don't end well. And we want to make sure that there isn't any temptation for a disgruntled partner or former employee to tamper with business resources. The whole point of controlling and granting access is, to let the right people in and keep the wrong people out and make sure that everything is private and secure. The challenge with security and privacy is if we plot it on a spectrum, security would be one end of the spectrum and convenience would be the other end of the spectrum. Just by the nature of what it is, the more secure anything is, the less convenient it is. So we don't necessarily want to hack our way around things being secure. We want them to stay secure, but we also want to remove the friction of getting the right people access. It also needs to be easy to remove that access when it's no longer needed. So the secret to streamlining access is to have a process. I know. Boring. But the reality is that every app, software, and platform has different access requirements. Inside of large organizations, they use single sign-on or Microsoft's Active Directory to try to solve the issue of access. Great, but that's usually not an option for small businesses. Not sure where to start with improved effectiveness for your marketing team? It can be as simple as assembling information so tasks can be delegated and completed faster. I've created the website quick reference template to help teams like yours pull together the technical details for your website to avoid delays and oopsies when dealing with the website. Grab your free template at getffx.com/website. So, process, it has to be. But don't worry, it doesn't have to be crazy, and it can be as simple as just using a template and having a checklist for when new accounts are created and when access is granted. It might look something like this. Let's say you've just set up a new service like ActiveCampaign. In this case, you'll want to find out if you can have multiple user accounts in ActiveCampaign. Individual user accounts are the most secure way to grant access because then you can remove access user by user and no one has a shared password. The downside to this is that if a user leaves, there can be more to unwind when deleting a user account. ActiveCampaign can, in fact, have multiple users. Sometimes there are limitations on how many users you can have, so that is another factor. Continuing with our example, when setting up a new account like ActiveCampaign, we would have a document that has, 1, the access URL. How do we get to this new program? This could also be the link to install the app. Number 2, how access is granted. In this case, it would be by individual user account. Number 3, a list of users is also helpful, but not usernames or passwords. Just a list of users or roles that need access and what access level they require. And for bonus points, you can include a link to the ActiveCampaign instructions on how to add a user, just to save somebody a step when they need to do this. For systems where there can be only one user or apps where all admin changes are under a single user, then I recommend using credential sharing via a password manager like LastPass. LastPass allows you to share credentials for use, but it never reveals the password. In LastPass, you can share individual credentials, or you can have a folder of shared credentials for roles. So, for example, if you have a marketing agency helping you, you might have a folder of shared credentials that has access to all the things a marketing agency would need access to help you. And you can just share the folder with the agency. So that's it. That's all. See, nothing crazy. If you want to get more advanced, you could have a master document that has all of these pieces of information for every system you have. But the point of writing down the information is that now when you need to grant new access, you can look at the platforms where access is needed and quickly know where and how to give that access. And then you can use these documents when you offboard someone. It's easy to see what systems they need to be removed from and know how to remove them. If you take just 10 more minutes when setting up a new account to put this information into a resource document, you will save yourself countless hours of tracking down who still has access and being able to more easily grant access to get vendors or new employees on board and start experiencing their value more quickly. Next time, we'll dive into the discussion on alternatives to marketing operations. It's a multi-episode discussion that leaders and members of marketing teams can likely relate to. Do you know ratings help others discover this podcast? I know it's a big ask, but if you would take a moment to go to ratethispodcast.com/spark and drop us a rating, it would help us find more listeners like you.